Juliet. It's another cold day today, all silver ruins and snow-covered decay. I wake up every morning hoping for even a slant of sunlight, but the bite in the air remains unforgiving as it sinks hungry teeth into our flesh. We've finally left the worst of winter behind, but even these early weeks of March feel inhumanely frosty. I pull my coat up around my neck and huddle into it. Kenji and I are on what has become our daily walk around the forgotten stretches of Sector 45. It's been both strange and liberating to be able to walk so freely in the fresh air. Strange, because I can't leave the base without a small troop for protection, and liberating, because it's the first time I've been able to acquaint myself with the land. I'd never had a chance to walk calmly through these compounds. I had no way of seeing firsthand exactly what happened to this world. And now to be able to roam freely, unquestioned, well, sort of. I glance over my shoulder at the 6 soldiers shadowing our every move, machine guns held tightly against their chests as they march. No one really knows what to do about me yet. Anderson had a very different system in place as Supreme Commander. He never showed his face to anyone, except those he was about to kill, and never traveled anywhere without his Supreme Guard. But I don't have rules about either, and until I decide exactly how I want to rule, this is my new situation. I'm to be babysat from the moment I step outside. I tried to explain that I don't need protection. I tried to remind everyone of my very literal, lethal touch, my superhuman strength, my functional invincibility.
But it would be very helpful to the soldiers, Warner had explained, if you would at least go through the motions. We rely on rules, regulation, and constant discipline in the military, and soldiers need a system upon which they might depend at all times. Do this for them, he said. Maintain the pretense. We can't change everything all at once, love. It'd be too disorienting.
So here I am, being followed. Warner has been my constant guide these last couple of weeks. He's been teaching me every day about all the many things his dad did and all the things he himself is responsible for. There are an infinite number of things Warner needs to do every day just to run this sector. Never mind the bizarre and seemingly endless list of things I need to do to lead an entire continent. I'd be lying if I didn't say that sometimes it all feels impossible. I had one day, just one day to exhale and enjoy the relief of overthrowing Anderson and reclaiming Sector 45. One day to sleep, one day to smile, one day to indulge in the luxury of imagining a better world. It was at the end of day 2 that I discovered a nervous-looking De La Lue standing behind my door. He seemed frantic.
Madam Supreme,
he'd said, a crazy smile half hung on his face.
I imagine you must be very overwhelmed lately. So much to do.
He looked down, wrung his hands.
But I fear I think...
What is it? I'd said to him. Is something wrong?
Well, madam, I hadn't wanted to bother you. You've been through so much and you've just needed time to adjust.
He looked at the wall. I waited.
Forgive me, he said. It's just that it's been nearly 36 hours since you've taken control of the continent, and you haven't been to visit your quarters once, he said in a rush. And you've already received so much mail that I don't know where to put it anymore.
What? He froze, finally met my eyes. What do you mean, my quarters? I have quarters? De La Lue blinked, dumbfounded.
Of course you do, madam. The Supreme Commander has his or her own quarters in every sector on the continent. We have an entire wing here dedicated to your offices. It's where the late Supreme Commander Anderson used to stay whenever he visited us on base. And as everyone around the world knows that you've made Sector 45 your permanent residence, this is where they've sent all your mail, both physical and digital. It's where your intelligence briefings will be delivered every morning. It's where other sector leaders have been sending their daily reports.
You're not serious, I say, stunned.
Very serious, madam.
He looked desperate.
And I worry about the message you might be sending by ignoring all correspondence at this early stage.
He looked away.
Forgive me, I don't mean to overstep. I know you'd like to make an effort to strengthen your international relationships, but I worry about the consequences you might face for breaking your mini-continental accords.
No, of course. Thank you, De La Lue, I said, head spinning. Thank you for letting me know. I'm very grateful for you intervening. I had no idea. I clapped a hand to my forehead. But maybe tomorrow morning, I said. Tomorrow morning you could meet me after my morning walk. Show me where these quarters are located.
Of course, he said with a slight bow. It would be my pleasure, Madam Supreme.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Certainly, madam.
He looked so relieved.
Have a pleasant evening.
I stumbled then as I said goodbye to him, tripping over my feet in a daze. Not much has changed. My shoes scuff on the concrete, my feet knocking into each other as I startle myself back into the present. I take a more certain step forward, this time bracing myself against another, sudden, biting gust. Kenji shoots me a look of concern. I look, but don't really see him. I'm looking beyond him now, eyes narrowed at nothing in particular. My mind continues on its own, whirring in time with the wind.
You okay, kid?
I look up, squinting sideways at Kenji. I'm okay, yeah.
Convincing.
I manage to smile and frown at the same time.
So,
Kenji says, exhaling the word.
What'd Castle want to talk to you about?
I turn away, irritated in an instant. I don't know. Castle is being weird. That gets Kenji's attention. Castle is like a father to him, and I'm pretty sure if he had to choose, Kenji would choose Castle over me. So it's clear where his loyalties lie when he says,
What do you mean? How is Castle being weird? He seemed fine this morning.
I shrug. He just seems really paranoid all of a sudden. And he said some things about Warner that just... I cut myself off, shake my head. I don't know. Kenji stops walking.
Wait, what things did he say about Warner?
I shrug again, still irritated. He thinks Warner is hiding stuff from me, like, not hiding stuff from me exactly, but that there's a lot I don't know about him. So I was like, if you know so much about Warner, why don't you tell me what I need to know about him? And Castle was like, no, blah, blah, Mr. Warner should tell you himself, blah, blah. I roll my eyes. Basically, he was telling me it's weird that I don't know that much about Warner's past. But that's not even true, I say, looking at Kenji now. I know a bunch about Warner's past.
Like,
I don't know, I know all that stuff about his mom. Kenji laughs.
You don't know shit about his mom.
Sure I do.
Whatever, Jay. You don't even know that lady's name.
At this, I falter. I search my mind for the information, certain he must have mentioned it, and come up short. I glance at Kenji, feeling small.
Her name was Lila, he says. Lila Warner. And I only know this because Castle does his research. We had files on all persons of interest back at Omega Point. Never knew she had powers that made her sick, though, he says,
looking thoughtful.
Anderson did a good job keeping that quiet.
Oh, is all I managed to say.
So that's why you thought Castle was being weird?
Kenji says to me.
Because he very correctly pointed out that you know nothing about your boyfriend's life?
Don't be mean, I say quietly. I know some things. But the truth is, I don't know much. What Castle said to me this morning hit a nerve. I'd be lying if I said I didn't wonder all the time what Warner's life was like before I met him. In fact, I think often of that day, that awful, awful day in the pretty blue house on Sycamore, the house where Anderson shot me in the chest. We were all alone, me and Anderson. I never told Warner what his father said to me that day, but I'd never forgotten. Instead, I'd tried to ignore it, to convince myself that Anderson was playing games with my mind to confuse and immobilize me. But no matter how many times I've played back the conversation in my head, trying desperately to break it down and dismiss it, I've never been able to shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't all for show. Maybe Anderson was telling me the truth. I can still see the smile on his face as he said it. I can still hear the musical lilt in his voice. He was enjoying himself, tormenting me. Did he tell you how many other soldiers wanted to be in charge of Sector 45? How many fine candidates we had to choose from? He was only 18 years old. Did he ever tell you what he had to do to prove he was worthy? My heart pounds in my chest as I remember, and I close my eyes, my lungs knotting together. Did he ever tell you what I made him do to earn it? No. I suspect he didn't want to mention that part, did he? I bet he didn't want to include that part of his past, did he? No. He never did, and I've never asked. I think I never want to know.
Don't worry,
Anderson said to me then.
I won't spoil it for you. Best to let him share those details with you himself.
And now this morning, I get the same line from Castle.
No, Miss Ferrars,
Castle had said, refusing to look me in the eye.
No, it's not my place to tell. Mr. Warner needs to be the one to tell you the stories about his life, not I.
I don't understand, I say, frustrated. How is this even relevant? Why do you suddenly care about Warner's past? And what does any of that have to do with Oceania's RSVP?
Warner knows these other commanders, Castle said. He knows the other Supreme families. He knows how the reestablishment operates from within. And there's still a great deal he needs to tell you. He shook his head. Oceania's response is deeply unusual, Miss Ferrars, for the simple reason that it's the only response you received. I feel very certain that the moves made by these commanders are not only coordinated, but also intentional. And I'm beginning to feel more worried by the moment that there is an entirely other message here, one that I'm still trying to translate. I could feel it then, could feel my temperature rising, my jaw tensing as anger surged through me. But you're the one who told me to reach out to all the Supreme Commanders. This was your idea, and now you're terrified that someone actually reached out? What do you... And then, all at once, I understood. My words were soft and stunned when I said, "Oh my God. You didn't think I'd get any responses, did you?" Castle swallowed hard, said nothing. "You didn't think anyone would respond," I said, my voice rising in pitch. Miss Ferrars, you must understand.
Why are you playing games with me, Castle? My fists clenched. What are you doing?
I'm not playing games with you, he said, the words coming out in a rush. I thought, he said, gesticulating wildly. It was an exercise, an experiment. I felt flashes of heat spark behind my eyes. Anger welled in my throat, vibrated along my spine. I could feel the rage building inside me, and it took everything I had to clamp it down. I am no longer anyone's experiment, I said. And I need to know what the hell is going on. You must speak with Mr. Warner, he said. He will explain everything. There's still so much you need to know about this world and the reestablishment, and time is of the essence, he said. He met my eyes. You must be prepared for whatever comes next. You need to know more, and you need to know now, before things escalate. I looked away, my hands shaking from the surge of unspent energy. I needed to break something. Anything. Instead, I said, "This is bullshit, Castle. Complete bullshit." And he looked like the saddest man in the world when he said, I know. I've been walking around with a splitting headache ever since, so it doesn't make me feel any better when Kenji pokes me in the shoulder, startling me back to life, and says, I've said it before and I'll say it again. You guys have a weird relationship. No, we don't, I say, and the words are reflexive, petulant. Yes, Kenji says. You do. And he saunters off, leaving me alone in the abandoned streets, tipping an imaginary hat as he walks away. I throw my shoe at him. The effort, however, is fruitless. Kenji catches my shoe midair. He's now waiting for me 10 steps ahead, holding my tennis shoe in his hand as I hop awkwardly in his direction. I don't have to turn around to see the smirks on the soldiers' faces some distance behind us. I'm pretty sure everyone thinks I'm a joke of a Supreme Commander. And why wouldn't they? It's been over 2 weeks and I still feel lost, half paralyzed. I'm not proud of my inability to get it together. Not proud of the revelation that, as it turns out, I'm not smart enough, fast enough, or shrewd enough to rule the world. I'm not proud that, at my lowest moments, I look around at all that I have to do in a single day and wonder, in awe, at how organized Anderson was. How accomplished. How very, very talented. I'm not proud that I've thought that, or that in the quietest, loneliest hours of the morning I lie awake next to the son Anderson tortured nearly to death and wish that Anderson would return from the dead and take back the burden I stole from his shoulders. And then there's this thought, all the time, that maybe I made a mistake. Hello, Earth to Princess? I look up confused, lost in my mind today. Did you say something? Kenji shakes his head as he hands me my shoe. I'm struggling to put it on when he says, So you forced me to take a stroll through this nasty, frozen shitland just to ignore me? I raise a single eyebrow at him. He raises both, waiting, expectant. What's the deal, Jay? This, he says, gesturing at my face, is more than whatever weirdness you got from Castle this morning. He tilts his head at me, and I read genuine concern in his eyes when he says, So what's going on? I sigh. The exhalation withers my body. You must speak with Mr. Warner. He will explain everything. But Warner isn't known for his communication skills. He doesn't make small talk. He doesn't share details about himself. He doesn't do personal.
I know he loves me. I can feel in our every interaction how deeply he cares for me. But even so, he's only ever offered me the vaguest information about his life. He's a vault to which I'm only occasionally granted access, and I often wonder how much I have left to learn about him. Sometimes it scares me. I don't know, I finally say. I'm really tired. I've got a lot on my mind.
Rough night?
I peer up at Kenji, shading my eyes against the cold sunlight. You know, I don't really sleep anymore, I say to him. I'm up at 4 a.m. every day, and I still haven't gotten through last week's mail. Isn't that crazy? Kenji shoots me a sideways glance, surprised. And I have to, approve a million things every day? Approve this, approve that, not even, big things, I say to him. It's stupid stuff, like... I pull a crumpled sheet of paper out of my pocket and shake it at the sky. Like this nonsense. Sector 418 wants to extend their soldiers' lunch hour by an additional 3 minutes, and they need my approval. 3 minutes. Who cares? Kenji fights back a smile, shoves his hands in his pockets. Every day, all day, I can't get anything real done. I thought I'd be doing something big, you know? I thought I'd be able to, unify the sectors and broker peace or something, and instead, I spend all day trying to avoid De La Lue, who's in my face every 5 minutes because he needs me to sign something. And that's just the mail. I can't seem to stop talking now, finally confessing to Kenji all the things I feel I can never say to Warner, for fear of disappointing him. It's liberating, but then suddenly it also feels dangerous, like maybe I shouldn't be telling anyone that I feel this way, not even Kenji. So I hesitate, wait for a sign. Kenji isn't looking at me anymore, but he still appears to be listening. His head is cocked to the side, his mouth playing at a smile when he says, after a moment,
Is that all?
And I shake my head hard, relieved and grateful to keep complaining. I have to log everything all the time. I have to fill out reports, read reports, file reports. There are 554 other sectors in North America, Kenji. 554. I stare at him. That means I have to read 554 reports every single day. Kenji stares back, unmoved. 554! He crosses his arms. The reports are 10 pages long.
Uh-huh.
Can I tell you a secret? I say.
Hit me.
This job blows. Now Kenji laughs out loud. Still, he says nothing. What? I say. What are you thinking? He musses my hair and says,
Oh, Jay.
I jerk my head away from his hand. That's all I get? Just an aw, Jay? And that's it? Kenji shrugs. What? I demand.
I mean, I don't know,
he says, cringing a little as he says it.
Did you think this was going to be easy?
No, I say quietly. I just thought it would be better than this.
Better how?
I thought it would be cooler?
Like you thought you'd be killing a bunch of bad dudes by now, high-kicking your way through politics like you could just kill Anderson and then all of a sudden, bam, world peace?
And now, I can't bring myself to look at him because I'm lying through my teeth when I say, No, of course not. I didn't think it would be like that. Kenji sighs.
This is why Castle was always so apprehensive, you know? With Omega Point, it was always about being slow and steady. waiting for the right moment, knowing our strengths and our weaknesses. We had a lot going for us, but we always knew, Castle always said, that we could never take out Anderson until we were ready to lead. It's why I didn't kill him when I had the chance. Not even when he was half dead already and standing right in front of me.
A pause.
It just wasn't the right moment.
So, you think I made a mistake? Kenji frowns almost, looks away, looks back, smiles a little but only with one side of his mouth.
I mean, I think you're great.
But you think I made a mistake. He shrugs in a slow, exaggerated way.
Nah, I didn't say that. I just think you need a little more training, you know? I'm guessing the insane asylum didn't prep you for this gig.
I narrow my eyes at him. He laughs.
Listen, you're good with the people, you talk pretty, but this job comes with a lot of paperwork and it comes with a lot of bullshit too. Lots of playing nice, lots of ass kissing. I mean, what are we trying to do right now? We're trying to be cool, right? We're trying to, take over, but, not cause absolute anarchy. We're trying not to go into war right now, right?
I don't respond quickly enough, and he pokes me in the shoulder.
Right? He says. Isn't that the goal? Maintain the peace for now? Attempt diplomacy before we start blowing shit up?
Yes, right, I say quickly. Yeah, prevent war, avoid casualties, play nice.
Okay then, he says and looks away. So you have to keep it together, kid, because if you start losing it now, the reestablishment is going to eat you alive. It's what they want. In fact, it's probably what they're expecting. They're waiting for you to self-destruct all this shit for them. So you can't let them see this. You can't let these cracks show.
I stare at him, feeling suddenly scared. He wraps one arm around my shoulder.
You can't be getting stressed out like this. Over some paperwork?
He shakes his head.
Everyone is watching you now. Everyone is waiting to see what happens next. We either go to war with the other sectors, hell with the rest of the world, or we manage to be cool and negotiate. And you have to be chill, Jay. Just be chill.
And I don't know what to say, because the truth is, he's right. I'm so far in over my head, I don't even know where to start. I didn't even graduate from high school, and now I'm supposed to have a lifetime's worth of knowledge about international relations? Warner was designed for this life. Everything he does is, breathes. He was built to lead. But me? What on earth, I think, have I gotten myself into? Why did I think I'd be capable of running an entire continent? How did I allow myself to imagine that a supernatural ability to kill things with my skin would suddenly grant me a comprehensive understanding of political science? I clench my fists too hard and pain, fresh pain, as my fingernails pierce the flesh. How did I think people ruled the world? Did I really imagine it would be so simple? That I might control the fabric of society from the comfort of my boyfriend's bedroom? I'm only now beginning to understand the breadth of this delicate, intricately developed spider web of people, positions, and power already in place. I said I was up for the task. Me, a 17-year-old nobody with very little life experience. I volunteered for this position, and now, basically overnight, I have to keep up, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But if I don't learn how to manage these many relationships, if I don't at least pretend to have even the slightest idea of how I'm going to rule, the rest of the world could so easily destroy me. And sometimes I'm not sure I'll make it out of this alive. Warner.
How's James?
I'm the first to break the silence. It's a strange feeling, new for me. Kent nods his head in response, his eyes focused on the hands he clasped in front of him. We're on the roof, surrounded by cold and concrete, sitting next to each other in a quiet corner to which I sometimes retreat. I can see the whole sector from here. The ocean far off in the distance, the sun making its sluggish, midday approach. Civilians like toy soldiers marching to and fro.
He's good,
Kent finally says. His voice is tight. He's wearing nothing but a t-shirt that doesn't seem to be bothered by the blistering cold. He takes in a deep breath.
I mean, he's great, you know, he's so great, doing great.
I nod. Kent looks up, laughs a short, nervous sort of laugh, and looks away.
Is this crazy?
He says.
Are we crazy?
We're both silent a minute, the wind whistling harder than before.
I don't know,
I finally say. Kent pounds a fist against his leg, exhales through his nose.
You know, I never said this to you before.
He looks up, but doesn't look at me.
That night, I never said it, but I wanted you to know that it meant a lot to me. What you said.
I squint into the distance. It's an impossible thing to do, really, to apologize for attempting to kill someone. Even so, I tried. I told him I understood him then. His pain, his anger, his actions. I told him that he'd survived the upbringing of our father to become a much better person than I'd ever be.
I meant it,
I say to him. Kent now taps his closed fist against his mouth, clears his throat.
I'm sorry too, you know?
His voice is hoarse.
Things got so screwed up, everything, it's such a mess.
Yes, I say.
It is. So what do we do now?
He finally turns back to look at me, but I'm still not ready to meet his eyes.
How do we fix this? Can we fix this? Is it too far gone?
I run a hand over my newly shorn hair.
I don't know,
I say too quietly.
but I'd like to fix it. Yeah?
I nod. Kent nods several times beside me.
I'm not ready to tell James yet.
I falter, surprised.
Oh. Not because of you,
He says quickly.
It's not you I'm worried about. Explaining you means explaining something so much bigger. And I don't know how to tell him his dad was a monster. Not yet. I really thought he'd never have to know.
At this, I look up.
James doesn't know anything.
Kent shakes his head.
He was so little when our mom died, and I always managed to keep him out of sight when our dad came around. He thinks our parents died in a plane crash. Impressive,
I hear myself say.
That was very generous of you.
I hear Kent's voice crack when he speaks next.
God, why am I so messed up over him? Why do I care? I don't know,
I say, shaking my head.
I'm having the same problem. Yeah?
I nod. Kent drops his head in his hands.
He really screwed us up, man.
Yes, he did. I hear Kent sniff twice, 2 sharp attempts at keeping his emotions in check, and even so, I envy him his ability to be this open with his feelings. I pull a handkerchief from the inside of my jacket and hand it to him.
Thanks,
he says tightly. Another nod.
So, what's up with your hair?
I'm so caught off guard by the question I almost flinch. I actually consider telling Kent the whole story, but I'm worried he'll ask me why I ever let Kenji touch my hair, and then I'd have to explain Juliet's many, many requests that I befriend the idiot. And I don't think she's a safe topic for us yet, so instead I say,
a little misshape.
Kent raises his eyebrows, laughs.
Uh-huh.
I glance in his direction, surprised. He says,
It's okay, you know.
What is? Kent is sitting up straighter now, staring into the sunlight. I'm beginning to see shades of my father in his face. Shades of myself.
You and Juliet,
he says. I freeze. He glances at me.
Really, it's okay.
I can't help it when I say, stunned.
I'm not sure it would have been okay with me had our roles been reversed.
Kent smiles, but it looks sad.
I was a real dick to her at the end,
he says.
So I guess I got what I deserved. But it wasn't actually about her, you know? All of that. It wasn't about her.
He looks up at me out of the corner of his eye.
I'd been drowning for a while, actually. I was just really unhappy and really stressed, and then...
He shrugs, turns away.
Honestly, finding out you were my brother nearly killed me.
I blink, surprised once more.
Yeah.
He laughs, shaking his head.
I know it seems weird now, but at the time I don't know, man. I thought you were a sociopath. I was so worried you'd figure out we were related, and then, I don't know, I thought you'd try to murder me or something.
He hesitates, looks at me, waits. It's only then that I realize, surprised yet again, that he wants me to deny this, to say it wasn't so. But I can understand his concern, so I say,
Well, I did try to kill you once, didn't I?
Kent's eyes go wide.
It's too soon for that, man. That shit is still not funny.
I look away as I say,
I wasn't making a joke.
I can feel Kent looking at me, studying me, trying, I assume, to make some sense of me or my words. Perhaps both. But it's hard to know what he's thinking. It's frustrating to have a supernatural ability that allows me to know everyone's emotions except for his. It makes me feel off kilter around him, like I've lost my eyesight. Finally, Kent sighs. I seem to have passed a test.
Anyway,
he says, but he sounds a bit uncertain now.
I was pretty sure you would come after me, and all I could think was that if I died, James would die. I'm his whole world, you know? You kill me, you kill him.
He looks into his hands.
I stopped sleeping at night, stopped eating. I was losing my mind. I couldn't handle it, any of it. And you were like living with us, and then everything with Juliet, I don't know.
He sighs, long and loud, shaky.
I was an asshole. I took everything out on her, blamed her for everything. From walking away from what I thought was one of the few sure things in my life. It's my own fault, really. My own baggage. I've still got a lot of shit to work out,
he says, finally.
I've got issues with people leaving me behind.
For a moment, I'm rendered speechless. I'd never thought of Kent as capable of complex thought. My ability to sense emotions and his ability to extinguish preternatural gifts has made for a strange pairing. I'd always been forced to conclude that he was devoid of all thought and feeling. It turns out he's quite a bit more emotionally adept than I'd expected. Vocal, too. But it's strange to see someone with my shared DNA speak so freely. To emit aloud his fears and shortcomings. It's too raw. Like looking directly at the sun. I have to look away. Ultimately, I say only,
I understand.
Kent clears his throat.
So, yeah,
He says.
I guess I just wanted to say that Juliet was right. In the end, she and I grew apart. All of this,
He makes a gesture between us.
made me realize a lot of things, and she was right. I'd always been so desperate for something, some kind of love or affection or something, I don't know,
He says, shaking his head.
I guess I wanted to believe she and I had something we didn't. I was in a different place then. Hell, I was a different person, but I know my priorities now.
I look at him then, a question in my eyes.
My family,
He says, meeting my gaze.
that's all I care about now.
Juliet. We're making our way slowly back to base. I'm in no hurry to find Warner, only to have what will probably be a difficult, stressful conversation, so I take my time. I pick my way through the detritus of war, winding through the gray wreckage of the compounds as we leave behind unregulated territory and the smudged remnants of what used to be. I'm always sorry when our walk is nearly at an end. I feel great nostalgia for the cookie-cutter homes, the picket fences, the small boarded-up shops and old, abandoned banks and buildings that make up the streets of unregulated turf. I'd like to find a way to bring it all back again. I take a deep breath and enjoy the rush of crisp, icy air as it burns through my lungs. Wind wraps around me, pulling and pushing and dancing, whipping my hair into a frenzy, and I lean into it, get lost in it, open my mouth to inhale it. I'm about to smile when Kenji shoots me a dark look and I cringe, apologizing with my eyes. My half-hearted apology does a little to placate him. I force Kenji to take another detour down to the ocean, which is often my favorite part of our walk. Kenji, on the other hand, really hates it, and so do his boots, one of which got stuck in the muck that now clings to what used to be clean sand.
I still can't believe you like staring at this nasty, piss-infested...
It's not infested, actually, I point out. Castle says it's definitely more water than pee. Kenji only glares at me. He's still muttering under his breath, complaining about his shoes being soaked in piss water, as he likes to call it, as we make our way up to the main road. I'm happy to ignore him, determined to enjoy the last of this peaceful hour, as it's one of the only hours I have for myself these days. I linger and look back at the cracked sidewalks and caving roofs of our old world, trying, and occasionally succeeding, to remember a time when things weren't so bleak. Do you ever miss it? I ask Kenji. The way things used to be? Kenji is standing on one foot, shaking some kind of sludge from one leather boot, when he looks up and frowns.
I don't know what you think you remember, Jay, but the way things used to be wasn't much better than the way they are now.
What do you mean? I ask, leaning against the pole of an old street sign.
What do you mean?
He counters.
How can you miss anything about your old life? I thought you hated your life with your parents. I thought you said they were horrible and abusive.
They were, I say, turning away. And we didn't have much, but there were some things I liked to remember. Some nice moments back before the reestablishment was in power. I guess I just miss the small things that used to make me happy. I look back at him and smile. You know? He raises an eyebrow. Like The sound of the ice cream truck in the afternoons, I say to him, or the mailman making his rounds. I used to sit by the window and watch people come home from work in the evenings. I look away, remembering. It was nice. You don't think so? Kenji's lips quirk up into an unhappy smile as he inspects his boot, now free of sludge.
I don't know, kid. Those ice cream trucks never came into my neighborhood. The world I remember was tired and racist and volatile as hell, ripe for a hostile takeover by a shit regime. We were already divided. The conquering was easy.
He takes a deep breath, blows it out, and says,
Anyway, I ran away from an orphanage when I was 8, so I don't remember much of that cutesy shit regardless.
I freeze, stunned. It takes me a second to find my voice. You lived in an orphanage? Kenji nods before offering me a short, humorless laugh.
Yep, I'd been living on the streets for a year, hitchhiking my way across the state, before we had sectors, until Castle found me.
What? My body goes rigid. Why have you never told me this story? All this time and you never said... He shrugs. Did you ever know your parents? He nods but doesn't look at me. I feel my blood run cold. What happened to them?
It doesn't matter.
Of course it matters, I say, and touch his elbow. Kenji.
It's not important,
he says, breaking away.
We've all got problems, we've all got baggage. No need to dwell on it.
This isn't about dwelling on the past, I say. I just want to know your life, your past. It matters to me. And for a moment, I'm reminded again of Castle. His eyes, his urgency, and his insistence that there's more I need to know about Warner's past, too. There's so much left to learn about the people I care about. Kenji finally smiles, but it makes him look tired. Eventually he sighs. He jogs up a few cracked steps leading to the entrance of an old library and sits down on the cold concrete. Our armed guards are waiting for us just out of sight. Kenji pats the place next to him. I scramble up the steps to join him. We're staring out at an ancient intersection, old stoplights and electric lines smashed and tangled on the pavement when he says,
So, I'm Japanese, right?
I nod.
Well, where I grew up, people weren't used to seeing faces like mine. My parents weren't born here, they spoke Japanese and broken English. Some people didn't like that. Anyway, we lived in a rough area, he explains, with a lot of ignorant people. And just before the reestablishment started campaigning, promising to solve all our people problems by obliterating cultures and languages and religions and whatever, race relations were at their worst. There was a lot of violence all across the continent. Communities clashing, killing each other. If you were the wrong color at the wrong time. He makes a finger gun, shoots it into the air. People would make you disappear. We avoided it mostly. The Asian communities never had it as bad as the black communities, for example. The black communities had it the worst. Castle can tell you all about that, he says. Castle's got the craziest stories, but the worst that ever happened to my family usually was people would talk shit when we were out together. I remember my mom never wanted to leave the house. I feel my body tense. Anyhow, he shrugs. My dad just, we couldn't just stand there and let people say stupid, foul shit about his family, right? So he'd get mad. It wasn't like this was always happening or whatever, but when it did happen, sometimes the altercation would end in an argument and sometimes nothing. It didn't seem like the end of the world. but my mom was always begging my dad to let it go, and he couldn't.
His face darkens.
And I don't blame him. One day, Kenji says, it ended really badly. Everyone had guns in those days, remember? Civilians had guns. Crazy to imagine now under the reestablishment, but back then everyone was armed, out for themselves.
A short pause.
My dad bought a gun too. He said we needed it just in case, for our own protection.
Kenji isn't looking at me when he says,
And the next time some stupid shit went down, my dad got a little too brave. They used his own gun against him. Dad got shot. Mom got shot trying to make it stop. I was 7.
You were there? I gasp. He nods.
Saw the whole thing go down.
I cover my mouth with both hands, my eyes sting with unshed tears.
I've never told anyone that story, he says,
his forehead creasing.
Not even Castle.
What? I drop my hands. My eyes widen. Why not? He shakes his head.
I don't know,
he says quietly and stares off into the distance.
When I met Castle, everything was still so fresh, you know? Still too real. When he wanted to know my story, I told him I didn't want to talk about it, ever.
Kenji glances over at me.
Eventually, he just stopped asking.
I can only stare at him, stunned, speechless. Kenji looks away. He's almost talking to himself when he says,
It feels so weird to have said all that out loud.
He takes a sudden, sharp breath, jumps to his feet, and turns his head so I can't see his face. I hear him sniff hard twice, and then he stuffs his hands in his pockets and says,
You know, I think I might be the only one who doesn't have daddy issues. I loved the shit out of my dad.
I'm still thinking about Kenji's story and how much more there is to know about him, about Warner, about everyone I've come to call a friend, when Winston's voice startles me back to the present.
We're still figuring out exactly how to divvy up the rooms, he's saying. But it's coming together nicely. In fact, we're a little ahead of schedule on the bedrooms, he says. Warner fast-tracked the work on the East Wing so we can actually start moving in tomorrow.
There's a brief round of applause. Someone cheers. We're taking a brief tour of our new headquarters. The majority of the space is still under construction, so for the most part what we're standing in is a loud, dusty mess, but I'm excited to see the progress. Our group has desperately needed more bedrooms, more bathrooms, desks, and studios, and we need to set up a real command center from which we can get work done. This will, hopefully, be the beginning of that new world. The world wherein I'm the Supreme Commander. Crazy. For now, the details of what I do and control are still unfolding. We won't be challenging other sectors or their leaders until we have a better idea of who our allies might be, and that means we'll need a little more time.
The destruction of the world didn't happen overnight, and neither will saving it,
Castle likes to say, and I think he's right. We need to make thoughtful decisions as we move forward, and making an effort to be diplomatic might be the difference between life and death. It would be far easier to make global progress, for example, if we weren't the only ones with the vision for change. We need to forge alliances. But Castle's conversation with me this morning has left me a little rattled. I'm not sure how to feel anymore, or what to hope for. I only know that despite the brave face I put on for the civilians, I don't want to jump from one war to another. I don't want to have to slaughter everyone who stands in my way. The people of Sector 45 are trusting me with their loved ones, with their children, and spouses who've become my soldiers, and I don't want to risk any more of their lives unless absolutely necessary. I'm hoping to ease into this. I'm hoping that there's a chance, even the smallest chance, that the semi-corporation of my fellow sectors and the 5 other Supreme Commanders could mean good things for our future. I'm wondering if we might be able to come together without more bloodshed.
That's ridiculous and naive,
Kenji says. I look up at the sound of his voice, look around. He's talking to Ian Sanchez, tall, lanky guy with a bit of an attitude but a good heart. The only one of us with no superpowers, though. Not that it matters. Ian is standing tall, arms crossed against his chest, head turned to the side, eyes up at the ceiling.
I don't care what you think. Well, I do.
I hear Castle cut in.
I care what Kenji thinks,
he's saying.
But I care what you think too, Ian,
Castle says.
But you have to see that Kenji is right in this instance. We have to approach everything with a great deal of caution. We can't know for certain what will happen next.
Ian sighs, exasperated.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I don't understand why we need all this space. It's unnecessary.
Wait, what's the issue here? I ask, looking around, and then to Ian. Why don't you like the new space? Lily puts an arm around Ian's shoulders.
Ian is just sad, she says, smiling. He doesn't want to break up the slumber party.
What? I frown. Kenji laughs.
Ian scowls. I think we're fine where we are, he says. I don't know why we need to move up into all this, he says, his arms wide as he scans the cavernous space. It feels like tempting fate. Doesn't anyone remember what happened the last time we built a huge hideout?
I watch Castle flinch. I think we all do. Omega Point, destroyed, bombed into nothingness. Decades of hard work obliterated in a moment. That's not going to happen again, I say firmly. Besides, we're more protected here than we ever were before. We have an entire army behind us now. We're safer in this building than we would be anywhere else. My words are met with an immediate chorus of support, but still I bristle because I know what I've said is only partly true. I have no way of knowing what's going to happen to us or how long we'll last here. What I do know is that we need the new space, and we need to set up shop while we still have the funds. No one has tried to cut us off or shut us down yet. No sanctions have been imposed by fellow continents or commanders. Not yet, anyway. Which means we need to rebuild while we still have the means to do so. But this enormous space dedicated only to our efforts, this was all Warner's doing. He was able to empty out an entire floor for us, the top floor, the 50th story of Sector 45 headquarters. It took an enormous amount of effort to transfer and distribute a whole floor's worth of people, work, and furnishings to other departments, but somehow he managed it. Now the level is being refitted specifically for our needs. Once it's all done, we'll have state-of-the-art technology that will allow us to not only access the research and surveillance we'll need, but the necessary tools for Winston and Aaliyah to continue building any device, gadgets, and uniforms we might require. And even though Sector 45 already has its own medical wing, we'll need a secure area for Sonia and Sarah to work, from where they'll be able to continue developing antidotes and serums that might one day save our lives. I'm just about to point this out when Delalu walks into the room.
Supreme?
He says with a nod in my direction. At the sound of his voice, we all spin around. Yes, Lieutenant. There's a slight quiver in his words when he says,
You have a visitor, madam. He's requesting 10 minutes of your time.
A visitor? I turn instinctively, finding Kenji with my eyes. He looks just as confused as I am.
Yes, madam,
says De La Lu.
He's waiting downstairs in the main reception room.
But who is this person? I ask, concerned. Where did he come from?
His name is Haider Ibrahim. He's the son of the Supreme Commander of Asia.
I feel my body lock in sudden apprehension. I'm not sure I'm any good at hiding the panic that jolts through me as I say, the son of the Supreme Commander of Asia. Did he say why he was here? De La Lu shakes his head.
I'm sorry to say that he refused to answer any of my more detailed questions, madam.
I'm breathing hard, head spinning. Suddenly, all I can think about is Castle's concern over Oceania this morning, the fear in his eyes, the many questions he refused to answer.
What shall I tell him, madam?
De La Lu again. I feel my heart pick up. I close my eyes. You are a supreme commander, I say to myself. Act like it.
Madam?
Yes, of course. Tell him I'll be right there.
Miss Ferrars.
Castle's sharp voice pierces the fog of my mind. I look in his direction.
Miss Ferrars,
he says again, a warning in his eyes.
Perhaps you should wait?
Wait, I say. Wait for what?
Wait to meet with him until Mr. Warner can be here too.
My confusion bleeds into anger. I appreciate your concern, Castle, but I can do this on my own, thank you.
Miss Ferrars, I would beg you to reconsider, please,
he says, more urgently now.
You must understand this is no small thing. The son of a Supreme Commander, it could mean so much.
As I said, thank you for your concern. I cut him off, my cheeks inflamed. Lately, I've been feeling like Castle has no faith in me, like he isn't rooting for me at all. And it makes me think back to this morning's conversation. It makes me wonder if I can trust anything he says. What kind of ally would stand here and point out my ineptitude in front of everyone? It's all I can do not to shout at him when I say, I can assure you I'll be fine. And then, to De La Lu, Lieutenant, please tell our visitor that I'll be down in a moment.
Yes, madam.
Another nod, and De La Lu's gone. Unfortunately, my bravado walks out the door with him. I ignore Castle as I search the room for Kenji's face. For all my big talk, I don't actually want to do this alone. And Kenji knows me well.
Hey, I'm right here.
He's crossed the room in just a few strides, by my side in seconds. You're coming with me, right? I whisper, tugging at his sleeve like a child. Kenji laughs.
I'll be wherever you need me to be, kid.